Can't forget my djembe drum. Hello YouTube, this Skip, coming to you live, straight out of Broad 6 Aquatic Kennels. And you may detect a little excitement in my voice. But the difference is, in this video, part 2 of my video series, where I explain or expose the difference between crossbreeds, mixed breeds, and hybrids, you can see the excitement in my face. Now, first up, before I start, I would like to thank all my YouTube subscribers, all my Facebook followers and friends, and everyone in this aquatic community who went out and purchased my book titled Skip's Guide to Keeping Real Hard Cichlids on Amazon. And you can still purchase this book on Amazon for only $19.95. And you also can purchase my aquatic posters. Here we have the reverse orange Midas, barred orange Midas, 18 by 24, only $30. Pyros, Amarillo as well. Thank you. I appreciate all your support. The proceeds go towards maintaining my aquarium building and this hobby and those real hard cichlids you guys all grown to love throughout the years. Okay, let's jump into the topic at hand. Part 2, we're going to talk about mixed breeds. But before we get totally into it, I want you guys to know that this video series is not just about fish or cichlids. This video series is about us as a community, as a whole, as a culture, misusing terms. Terms that some of us use consistently within this aquatic community incorrectly. I think a lot of us don't totally know to the extent of how wrong it is to misuse these terms the way we are. Some of us don't truly know the meaning of these terms, because we all know a lot of these terms have double uses. We use them in different ways. But we have to maintain the integrity of these terms and the people who created these terms. We have to be responsible. We have to deal with the facts. Not just the fish facts, but the facts in general. So, don't get it twisted. I'm not just making this video series for the aquatic community, because I have a lot of guys that are in the dog community as well that decided to deal with tropical fish as they scale down their business with the dogs. There are a lot of former and still dog breeders that deal with tropical fish and deal with these cichlids. And they call me and email me on a daily basis. And they ask me the same exact questions you guys are asking me in the aquatic community. This is not just about Midas, people. This is not just about African cichlids. This is not just about catfish or what have you. This is about species and breeding and terms that we are using, period. So let's just get that out the way. Now, I noticed that I have been receiving a lot of messages with people asking me questions about the Midas species complex in general. And most people seem to think that most of my videos in these series are just about Midas. This video series right here, people, is not just about Midas. Okay? I want to get that out of the way. And in fact, since I noticed that, I decided to use another cichlid species to explain my view and to give you an example of my interpretation of the terms that I believe we are misusing in this hobby today. So I want you guys to take a look at this clip where I went online and went to a web page that discusses the different types of Oscar species. So take a look. Here we have a photographic record of different types of Oscar fish. Below here, to your left, we have a photo of an albino tiger Oscar and a red Oscar. Next to it is some literature here. Let's read through the literature. Oscars are all the same species. Ocellatus. However, there are several color varieties and forms available, period. Now, this is the reason why I am utilizing this particular species to demonstrate to you guys what I mean by mixed breed. I'm going to use this species to explain to you guys why I say a mixed breed is a combination of 3 or more subspecies of cichlids, or any species that for that matter, and it's not a hybrid. So let's continue to read. There are no differences in care for any species, with the exemption of albino Oscars, which may require this decreased lighting due to a potential sensitivity to bright lights, common in albinos and any species. Now, that is true. Albinos of any species of cichlid are sensitive to bright lights. So not only are we touching on mixed breeds here in volume 2, we're also touching on a little bit of mutation and genetics as well, which we are going to touch on anyway. The most common varieties are those Oscars we normally see at most fish stores. They include tiger Oscars, red Oscars, and common Oscars. To my count, that is 3 different varieties of Oscars, which brings me to my point. It takes 3 or more varieties of subspecies to make a mixed breed. A mixed breed is just that, 3 or more subspecies or breeds of the same species complex. Let's see what it says down here. Tiger Oscars, dark base color with orange-red stripes. It is believed that tiger Oscars are the result of selective breeding. Have we talked about that before, ladies and gentlemen? Of red Oscars back to common Oscars and fixing the resulting strain. Here's an example of that. So it looks like we had a little bit of crossbreeding with the Oscar species, which created a different variation of the same species, another subspecies. Haven't we been talking about that with the Midas cichlids? That's why I'm utilizing this species. I don't want to continue to use Midas because a lot of you guys tend to get confused and think that it's just about the Midas species complex, and it's not. It's about all cichlids, all species, whether it's African cichlid, Central American cichlid, it doesn't matter. North American cichlids. It's about all cichlids, and in fact, it's about all fish. It could be catfish. It could be a cichlid. It could be a shark. when you apply these terms, it applies to all species and breeds. We could be talking about dogs, cats, rabbits, horses. My theory applies to all of them. And I say my theory because there are a group and there's a fraction of people in this community and in all communities, in the genetic community, in the biology community, that believe that when you mix different types, like these different Oscars, they are considered hybrids. I strongly disagree with that. Like I said in part 2 when we talked about the crossbreeds. So let's take a closer look at some of the different types of Oscars. We have tiger Oscars. We have red Oscars. We have the common Oscar, albino Oscars, albino tiger Oscars, albino red Oscars, and it goes on. Let's go. We even have fancy tail Oscars. Let's see if we can find some fancy tail Oscars. Look at this. There's so many different varieties of Oscars. Dyed Oscars. My gracious, they're dying of fish. Check it out. Oscars with long fins and fancy tails. I guess for some of you guys in this community, they're hybrids. They probably mixed them with some goldfish, huh? Now, if you mix the Oscar with a goldfish, that would be a hybrid. But if you take this same variation of Oscar, this fancy tail or fantail Oscar, or velvet tail Oscar, and you decide to crossbreed it with a regular golden Oscar, that would be a crossbreed, not a hybrid. If you decide to take that fantail, the golden Oscar, and then you move up here up the ladder to an albino red Oscar, to an albino tiger Oscar, and even a common Oscar, that will be considered a mixed breed because you mix. See, you have to understand, there has to be a connection when you're crossbreeding and mixed breeding. There has to be a line drawn between the species. When you breed outside the species complex, when you breed, say, a Jack Dempsey and an Oscar and a Midas and an Oscar, there's no connection with those species. Therefore, they will be considered hybrids if you was to somehow breed the three. They wouldn't be a mixed breed, because some people relate that to being a mixed breed, where you mix 3 different species, so that's a mixed breed. No, that's a hybrid, because at the end of the day, you have something other than either or one of those species. You don't have a Jack Dempsey, you don't have a Midas, and you don't have an Oscar. Everybody with me on that? But when you mix these particular species, you still have an Oscar at the end of the day. Just a different variation. And as we read at the top of this web page, these guys believe that if you crossbred a red Oscar with a common Oscar, that's one of the reasons why we have what we call a tiger Oscar. And I believe that too. I agree. I told you guys, part 2 is really going to heat up. I'm going to turn it up a notch. And I'm going to turn it up even more in part 3. Oh, trust me. It's going to be a doozy. This video series is going to be one of the best I've ever made, period. Okay, aquatic community. I thought it was time for a change of scenery. Right before you is an example of a mixed breed. But before I get into that, I want to talk a little bit about what we just finished watching. Because I thought that particular website was awesome. I thought the way they explained the different types of Oscars and also their theory about the tiger Oscar and it being a result of a crossbreed between a common Oscar and a red Oscar was brilliant. It was awesome. I think I made a good choice by picking the Oscar cichlid and that particular website to describe and explain and give you guys an example of what I mean by the crossbreed and mixed breed terms that are misused and loosely used in this aquatic community. I don't think I could have found any better website or cichlid for that matter to explain the differences between crossbreed, mixed breeds, and hybrids. And I say that because true, with all those different Oscar types and subspecies, if you breed them, no matter what combination, if you breed a common Oscar and a red Oscar, and it does produce a tiger Oscar, that is considered a crossbreed, not a hybrid, because at the end of the day, you still have an Oscar. And one thing I like about the Oscar species, Oscars stay true to their original form genetically and visibly. No matter how you slice and dice those different Oscar subspecies, at the end of the day, you know you have an Oscar. They have a distinct look. Period. That's why I use them for an example and to explain these different terms that people are using loosely. Now, right before you are my Amphilophus chancellus. They're in the Midas species complex. This is a result of 3 different Midas subspecies bred into one. Now let's go back in time to where these were just fried and take a look at their mother and father and their grandmother and father. Young Rhino is the father of these. He's the happy papa. Casanova is the grandfather, and Miss Lucy is the grandmother. Some of you guys know those names from watching my videos. For you guys who don't know those names, Young Rhino is an Isoletus Amarillo cross. And then I bred him to a Chancho that I got from a good buddy of mine, Marco. Those are 3 different Midas subspecies genetics in one. This is why I say it's important, people, to have a pedigree. And this is why I also say it's important to breed responsibly and to order your fish from responsible breeders. Just imagine if an irresponsible person took these fish and sold them to your local pet store or distributor as something other than a mixed breed. You would have complete chaos and confusion, because most people think, well, these look like Amarillos or they look like baby Chanchos, not knowing that they're mixed breed. So when they breed them, they get something that look different and they wonder why. But we have to also question ourselves and wonder, what if this is how those different breeds like the tiger Oscars did when you bred the common Oscar and red Oscar together to produce the tiger Oscar? What if this is how other different species of Midas were produced? So let's go back in time and take a look at their parents and grandparents, and then we're in this video and we'll move on to part 3 and 4. Part 3 where I discuss in more detail about crossbreeds and mixed breeds, and in part 4 we finish it out discussing hybrids. Check it out, Marco. Look at all them fry. My chancellors.
Rhino and that female chancho you gave me.